when I was obviously in Muskogee, and during the winter, we spent a lot of time working on our skills.
Right.
But as far as like lifting weights, really back then, girl athletes really didn't lift weights. It was not nearly as common as it is today.
Yeah.
And our hitting facility at Muskogee was getting refloored.
Dang.
So we couldn't get in it for a couple weeks,
right,
because they were reflooring the whole thing. And to be honest with you, one of the kids, because we had a little weight room next to our softball facility that I don't know if anyone had ever used. I mean, it looked like a bunch of ragtag equipment that, like pretty much they'd use as a storage closet, And one of our kids said, "Well, we should just lift weights until we can get it back in the hitting facility." I thought, "Oh, we did." Me being a guy that I played college baseball and college football, obviously. Sure. In those sports, we lifted weights a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a background, at least, the basics of lifting weights.
Right. Wouldn't necessarily consider yourself an expert at that point?
I was not an expert, but I definitely knew squats and power cleans and bench press,
mm-hmm.
Like the Olympic lifts.
Sure.
And
the big three.
And so we started lifting, and we kind of, I had ran speed and strength camps for years for a company called the Athletes Course back when I was in college.
Right.
And so we kind of just went through that program with them, and we put them on that weight program. And after a couple of days, the girls acted like they liked it, and they really liked it, which honestly surprised me.
Right.
And so that's really how it started. We just kind of kept doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest with you, at Muskogee, it was the most important part of our program, because I felt like at Muskogee, it definitely helped us get over the hump at Muskogee as a program, because we were one of the very few softball programs that invested so much in the weight room.
Why do you think those who don't necessarily invest in it a high level, why do you think that is? You think that they stray away from it for some reason?
Yeah, I mean, I really don't think it's that way as much now.
Okay.
I mean, there might not be as many high school programs that do it the way we do, as far as, that it's a huge part of our program is our, year-round off-season weightlifting.
Sure.
However, even the programs that really don't do it program-wide, there's a whole lot of kids now that have their own strength coaches that are going to places to work out. I mean, in college softball, it's a huge deal now.
Sure.
Everyone knows if you want to play college softball, you're going to have to lift weights, because that's what they do at that level. And so I think it's trickled down. But I know for a fact back in the early 2000s when we started doing it, there weren't many that did it.
Was it frowned upon, or was it just unheard of?
There used to be this thing that baseball players shouldn't lift. It's bad for your arms.
Oh, wow.
I know some of the girls, they were worried that I don't want to get real big and bulky, and
right.
And that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
That's not how it works.
Right.
But, what I learned with the girls at Muskogee in that first year is, one, they made such significant gains fast, because they had never lifted.
Right.
All of a sudden they go from bench pressing 50 pounds to bench pressing 80 pounds in 3 weeks.
Oh, wow.
And
10 pounds a week.
What started happening for them is they started feeling good. Like, after months of lifting 4 times a week,
mm-hmm.
All of a sudden their jeans fit better. They're
okay.
That they liked the way they looked. They liked the way they felt.
Right.
And I know at Muskogee it was easy to get kids involved in that. They loved it. Our kids looked forward to off season. When I came to Piedmont, they had never had an off season program. I'm sure there were kids that went somewhere twice a week for someone to tell them what to do, and they paid them and all that.
Right.
But as far as a team wide, they had never had an off season program, and it definitely weeded some kids out. And it was hard. I mean, it's hard on purpose.
Sure.
But now it's just part of our culture. I mean, our kids, they know that Piedmont softball, you're going to lift weights all the time. You know, you're going to, it's a daily deal. It's not a every so often. It's our kids lift every single day.
That's called getting it done. Even after the title run ended in October, how soon after did y'all get on the weights?
We won the state championship. I think it was October 19th.
Okay, that's like fall breakish.
We started our off-season program with our testing and stuff the 2 weeks before Thanksgiving.
Oh yeah,
so it was about 3 weeks off.
That's a good enough break. Good enough break. Everybody just enjoy the honeymoon period and everything like that. All right. About how many of your girls did you send off getting ready to go to the next level and go play? I've been following a few of your posts. You know, as they roll in, you put it out there and let it be known. It sounds like you got, or it looks like you got, at least a handful getting ready to continue their careers beyond this year.
Yeah, I would have to look to know the exact number. It's somewhere around 9 or 10. We had 14 seniors this year.
Yeah.
And I think 9 or 10 of them are signed to go play college softball.
Man, that's a major thing. Got to make you proud. Now that means you got some more miles to travel to go watch them.
Yeah, I do. It's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to what they do at the next level. You know, I feel like they'll be ahead of a lot of other freshmen.
Sure.
You know, I think that our program does a good job preparing kids for the next level. It seems like, you know, most of the kids I've coached in the past, they've done well in college, and I don't expect it to be different with this group of kids.
For sure. Do you take an approach that's any different at all to a kid that you know doesn't have aspirations to move on to the next level and play softball at the college level?
No.
It's the same?
Not really. You know, and for some kids, that's not for them.
Right.
You know, I've coached some really good players that didn't want to go play college softball.
Not that they couldn't, just didn't want to.
They loved high school softball, though.
Right.
And they loved the grind, and they loved working at it, and they, you know, but they just don't have the ambition to play college softball, which, you know.
Nothing wrong with that.
They're more focused on what their next step is, you know, to go be a doctor or go be a lawyer or whatever, you know. But, no, we coach them the same.
Gotta love it. Let's talk about that final game, man, because, you know, I'm sort of ashamed to say it, but the only game that I got to make and watch you guys play this past season was the final game, and that was a hell of a watch, man. It was topsy-turvy. It was an emotional one. You had a lot of parody going on in there, but I'm just looking at your face, even keeled the whole way. What was going on in your head that we weren't able to see on your disposition?
Oh, man. You know, we felt good going into the game. We knew we'd have to do a lot of things right.
Okay.
You know, we knew that we definitely weren't favored to win the game for sure.
Right.
You know, Carl Albert's been the giant in 5A softball for years and years.
Mm-hmm.
They won the last. They had won the last two.
I did not know that. Wow.
You know, they were back-to-back defending state champs.
Mm-hmm.
But we feel, like I said, I liked our kids. You know, I felt like we had done everything possible to prepare them for that moment.
Right.
And you know, even getting our teeth kicked in 2017 in the finals by Carl Albert, that really helped our kids for this last moment. You know, and for me, it was just be who we were. You know, we weren't gonna try to do anything different. You know, some things we did strategy wise though is, you know, we had played Carl Albert early in the season.
Didn't know that part either. Okay.
And they had beaten us 11-10.
Mm.
It was a great back and forth game. But going into that game, you know, we had talked about whether we were going to pitch our number one or not against them in the regular season.
Right.
And we decided to pitch her. And however, we pitched backwards in that game. We pitched their hitters backwards from what I thought was the best way to pitch them.
Was that by design?
That was by design.
Okay.
Because I knew if we're going to win a state championship, it was going to have to go through Carl Albert at some point, whether that was the semifinals or the finals. And so going into the state tournament, you know, I felt like we could pitch them a different way, the way that I would have normally pitched them and then we knew we were going to have to switch that halfway through the game if we were in it. And so it really kind of, a lot of little things had to happen right for us, but our game plan, I went back and looked at it, and it was kind of weird that I almost predicted the exact game. I mean, it worked out exactly the way that we had game planned for it, which obviously doesn't happen very often.
Right.
But the way we pitched them early, which was totally opposite than the way we pitched them in the regular season, kept us in it. And then when we finally got to the middle innings, then we flipped it back to another way of pitching them and different pitch sequences and locations to their best hitters. And, they didn't get a hit the last 3 innings of the game.
Yeah, that's a fact.
And they just needed one hit here or there, and they put the game out of reach earlier in the game. So I think it was just kind of meant to be. Like I said, I've said forever that to win a state championship, you have to be really good, but you also need to have some luck too. You need to have some good bounces.
Mm-hmm.
And the ball definitely bounced our way that day. But I feel like our kids earned it. Nothing against any other program out there, but like I said earlier, I 100% believe our kids have put in more time and effort than any team that you'll see. And I think good things happen to those who work hard, and I think our kids earned everything they got this year.
That you can vouch for. What's the body language and the conversations among your players like in that dugout, especially when things are a little treacherous?
That's the beauty of this team is they handle adversity as well as any group I've ever been around. But they have so much experience,
right.
and we've played countless and countless of games across the country as a club team, and they're playing against teams that have every player is going to LSU or Tennessee or Florida or Georgia. I mean, playing against better teams was never a problem for us.
Right.
Being behind is never a problem for us because obviously against the loaded teams we've played, we found ourselves behind in games. That was nothing new for us. I mean, the one thing we've talked about for so long over the last 4 years is staying consistent, staying even keeled. We don't want to be a roller coaster, and that's kind of what I tell them in practices or after games is you don't want to be a roller coaster. You don't want to go up and down and up and down.
Mm-hmm.
Stay steady.
Right.
Stay steady, and because one of the things we spend a lot of time talking about is you never know what might happen late in the game.
That's true.
Don't kill yourself early in the game because you don't know what might happen. That double play you turned down 4-0 in the 4th inning might end up being huge in the 7th inning. You never know. You can't do that if you're a roller coaster. You can't do that if you're, screaming and going crazy when things are going well, but when things aren't, you're in
right.
the dumps. It doesn't work that way.
Is that the same message that you pass along to your coaches too? Because y'all got some different personalities on that staff there, man.
I've tried to work with Hughes a little bit on the roller coaster.
yeah.
And he has gotten better.
Okay.
Funny, in 2017, the state tournament, he was making me nervous.
That don't happen easy.
He was just so animated and so, and we're different. He's more of a fiery type guy.
That's
and
right.
and that's just who he is.
Oh, yeah.
That's, and the kids know that. But he's, he does a great job for us. I definitely wouldn't want to do this without him. I know that.
For sure. And that's how you know it's a part of him because it's not due to lack of experience in his regard. He's been doing it forever. He's just fiery like that.
He's fiery, no doubt.
Man. Now, speaking about you, though, because I know you have another notch that you can go up in terms of being fiery. What constitutes that approach from coach? Is it like, all right, my girls have been super sluggish, and I've given them warning number 1, warning 2, and now I got to turn it up? Like, what makes you have to flip a switch and then blow a gasket?
Typically for me, it's planned out. Sometimes I need to get on them pretty good.
Right.
Sometimes just to kind of get some more pep in their step.
Sure.
That needs to come from me. And since I'm not like that often, when I do blow up, it's definitely out of the norm.
Right.
And usually gets their attention. Like Coach Hughes knows that every so often, about once a year, we will purposely plan to kick kids out of practice.
Yeah.
And we'll purposely kind of run through some drills maybe we haven't done a whole lot of and kind of make it confusing, forcing them to make mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
And just so we can kick them out of practice. And I learned that from a coach when I was in high school,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and it's funny because once they all leave, it's me and Coach Hughes and the other coaches, we laugh about it, you know. But I remember as a player when they did it to me, I mean, it's like it gets your attention,
Right.
And it definitely, you know, I feel like you have really good practices several days after that.
Oh yeah.
I'll be honest, it's been hard to do it with this group because they practice so well.
Right.
They really do. I mean, we have to get pretty creative sometimes. You know, the few times we've done it,
To get on.
we've had to get creative to kind of find a reason to. Because what happens is you have all these kids and you kick them out, then they're like, "Well, coach, can I stay and hit on my own? Can I do this?" No, get out of here.
Get out.
You know, and you know, I told a group a couple years ago that we did it on purpose.
Right.
You know,
You let them behind the
they
curtain.
thought it was funny, but it's effective, you know. And obviously, you can only do that once every long time because then everyone knows what you're doing. But it's there's some more tricks of the trade I've learned over the years, I guess.
Oh yeah, and hitting that reset button is key, man. It's a long season, and keeping them dialed in, that's a tough thing. And keeping yourself dialed in for that long, I would think, is a tough thing too. But what I want to ask you, a younger coach's question. Maybe not now because, you know, you've been doing it for quite some time. And I would say you do it pretty well. Did you ever struggle with delegating responsibilities and picking which responsibilities need to come from the man in charge versus some that could come from another one of your coaches on the staff?
Well, you know, to be honest with you, when I first started coaching softball, I was immediately the youngest and least experienced coach on my staff.
Right out of the gate.
Right out of the gate.
Ooh, okay.
And so I had to lean on other people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, I knew I was in charge of the program, but I didn't know nearly enough about what I was doing. And along the way, I hired even more experienced coaches. You know, Coleman Hughes was a coach of mine in high school.
Yeah.
I had another coach on my staff for a long time named Daryl Wood, who was my coach in high school. You know, we had a guy named Miles Thomas that had been a head coach for a lot longer than I had been.
Coach
we
Thomas.
had Don Yates.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, I tried to get coaches in with me that could help me become a better coach.
Right.
And so really it was the delegating was easy because it wasn't I completely trusted my coaches. And so, you know, a lot of the times, you know, we would just discuss, okay, whose strength is in this, whose strength is in that. And I was really more of a manager, to be honest with you.
Right.
I mean, that's just the truth. You know, Daryl Wood, you know, was a guy that's in the High School Softball Hall of Fame. And when he retired from teaching and coaching, I got him to come be an assistant coach with us for a long time until I came to Piedmont.
Wow.
And, you know, like I'd always said with him, it was like being at a coach's clinic every single day with that guy. I mean, I learned so much about coaching softball from him. You know, I mean, just
being a sponge, weren't you?
Yeah, and you know, he ran our defense, and so literally 99% of all the things I know about softball on defense are from him. You know, so I knew I was in charge,
Right.
but it was just different. It was a different kind of environment than typically you have a head coach, you know, telling people what to do. It really wasn't like that for me.
Yeah. So you weren't ego tripping, huh?
No, I've never ever needed to be the most highly qualified or the smartest or the best. Like, that doesn't matter to me. You know, I want to win. I want to assemble the best people I can with me to win. And it's like I say all the time, you know, I've been very fortunate to have a lot of good teams over the years. And I've received a lot of Coach of the Year awards over the years. And, you know, I'm glad I have them.
Right.
You know, but it's 100% because of the supporting cast, without a doubt, you know.
Put the championships in perspective for me, because you, correct me if I'm wrong, I think I try to do a little fact checking. You've gone to 4 state finals, right?
Yes.
Are you 2-2?
2-2.
I would imagine that both of those mean a little something different to you. Which one would you say was the most? I won't say which one is your favorite, but which one would you say was the most impactful of the two?
Definitely this one. Definitely.
I thought you would say the first one. Okay. Gotcha.
You know, really the first year, I was so young.
Right.
And
that was what year?
2009.
Okay.
2009.
Like 11 years ago. Okay.
You know, we won it. We were good. We were obviously good.
Sure, you got to be.
But we go to the state tournament, and I honestly, God, I don't think anyone, even inside our program, thought we'd win a state championship that year.
Really?
We were good, but we weren't. You know,
weren't head and shoulders above everybody.
No. And it was just one of those things where we got so hot during the state tournament, like we couldn't do anything wrong. And you know,
crazy how that works.
It was one of those things where I appreciate this one so much more than the first one. Because when the first one happened, I thought, I'm gonna do this all the time. Like this, I mean, we're gonna win all the time. We're gonna do this every year.
Every year, man.
You know,
we're getting back all the time.
And the other thing too about the first one and the second one is we scored 8. We played Jinx in the finals in 2009, and we scored 8 runs in the first inning. It was never a close game.
Okay.
You know, and so we felt like early on that we're gonna win. We're gonna win this thing.
Sure.
And obviously, this past one, I mean, we're down 4 in the last inning.
Oh yeah, I was watching that.
We're down 4 in the last inning, and we find a way to tie it up, and then we find a way to score 1 in the extra innings to win the game. I mean, you talk about just pure joy. I mean, just like if I could bottle up that feeling when we're on defense and that kid hits the fly ball with 2 outs that I know we're going to catch. That one moment right then, if you could bottle that up, and it's the best feeling in the world. You know, and I mean, you know, it's.
I guess that nullifies my next question, which was going to be, does it ever get old? Since you've been, you know what I mean?
No, it doesn't get old. It definitely, even winning in 2009, it definitely changed me as a coach, and good and bad.
Okay.
I mean,
give me the veggies first.
It almost makes it a disappointment when you don't win one.
Oh.
And that's it shouldn't really be like that because you know they're hard to win. They're
man.
Extremely hard to win. You know, but once you kind of taste that, when you don't win it, no matter how good your year was, it's sort of a disappointment. You know, and you know I'd always said before I started coaching that I would be okay. I just want to win one. Just let me win one, and I'll never complain about not winning another one.
Right.
Just let me win one.
Sure.
And after you get that one, it's all you think about.
Right.
And it's just like how can I get another one?
Right.
How can I get another one? And like I said, it went 10 years in between. So that's a lot of softball that we didn't win a state championship.
Right.
You know.
A lot of growth and evolution, I would imagine, took place with you as well. So I can't think of any one person who's the same way 10 years later as they were 10 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
But what still drives you at this point, man? I mean, you're not an old guy, number one, but you've been doing it for a long time. You got 2 titles. I don't think anybody can refute or dispute the fact you're a damn good coach at what you do. So what keeps you coming back for more year after year?
You know, it's the competition.
Yeah.
You know, that's that. I love the process of it. I love the chase. You know, it was kind of funny this year after, you know, with this group of kids, I've personally invested a lot of time with these kids.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, full high school seasons, summer seasons, full club ball seasons. And it was all for that moment. It was all to win a state championship.
Yeah.
And obviously you're so excited and so just happy when you achieve that. But I found myself very soon after the state tournament kind of just like, well, now what? I mean, like, the chase is so fun for me.
Yeah.
You know, the journey, working towards the ultimate goal, and you get it, and then you kind of like, I don't know,
Dang.
what am I going to do now?
Yeah.
You know,
What do I do with myself from this point?
And I absolutely hate to see this group of kids graduate, but to be honest with you, I'm so excited about this next group.
Sure.
You know, we're going to be a lot like we were my first year at Piedmont.
Mm.
You know, I mean, we graduate the house this year.
Right.
Like we'll only return one player that played in the state tournament, and that was our shortstop, a girl named Carissa Figner. She's a freshman.
Wow.
Every other player is a senior that played in the state tournament.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be a fresh start.
So it's going to be a brand new team.
Yeah.
And we're going to have a bunch of young kids, you know, a bunch of ninth graders and sophomores next year that are going to be competing. They've been competing all winter. They're going to compete all spring. And with, you know, some kids that are juniors on this year's team right now. And so I'm excited about trying to do it again. You know,
Yeah.
I'm excited about the process of it, from taking another brand new group of kids and seeing if we can, you know, do it again. And I'm lucky that with the success of this current group
Uh-huh.
of seniors and their club team, you know, I've started another club team that's a 14-under team that has a whole lot of our 8th and 9th graders at Piedmont on it.
Mhm.
So it's going to be the exact same model that we've kind of done with the older kids.
Sure.
It's going to make me extremely busy this spring and summer, because I'm still going to coach the 18-under team too, because all those kids are about to go to college now. I obviously couldn't just
No, you can't.
abandon them before they go to college.
You do that. You got to whip them into shape, baby.
So I'll have a 14-under team and an 18-under team this year. So it's going to be fun. We're going to test that drive, I guess. We'll see how motivated I am after about 500 games this summer.
500 games this summer, man.
But I think I'll be fine. I love the kids. I love what I'm doing. So
You're built for it.
it'll be fun.
I got a competitive question for you. Do you look more forward to the excitement about having a younger, inexperienced group, or the pressure of a team that's supposed to win it? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I like them both.
I got you.
You know, I love the fact that everyone's already saying we won't be very good next year.
Right.
You know, that's
Underdog,
already,
baby.
that's out there.
Mhm.
That they graduated the house, they're not going to be any good next year. I love that. I love kind of teaching the game to the new kids like I did this last group.
Yeah, the vets
You
when
know,
they were babies.
I love seeing how they're going to develop and progress throughout the years. But I also like the pressure of being expected to be really good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think pressure is privilege, and you know, that's obviously your ultimate goal is you want to have that pressure of being good.
Right.
You know, you want to be expected to perform. You know, and so it's both.
Sure.
I mean, I like both of them.
Let's say when you have a team that's said to be very good, and by all intents and purposes may be, and the expectation is to be the last one standing, and you fall short, whether you fall short in the state tournament or in the regional tournament, what do you go into that dressing room and say to those girls after the run is over and you didn't achieve what y'all wanted to achieve?
Well, you tell them. I mean, if they deserve to be there, which pretty much all of our teams do,
Mm-hmm.
you know, they did everything they could. You know, it's like I said, it takes a lot more than just being really good to win a state championship. You have to have some breaks. You have to have some things go your way, and sometimes you just don't. You know, I feel like I've had several teams throughout the years that were talented enough to possibly win a state championship.
Right.
It's just extremely hard. I mean, it's really hard to win that last game. And, you know, I think the kids, it's obviously no matter what you say to them, they're really hurt at the time. But as you look back later, you see how remarkable year it was.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I can look at several years that I've taken teams to state tournaments that didn't win the final game, but they had remarkable runs. You know, I've definitely never coached a team that for sure should have won a state championship that didn't. You know, because there's too many good teams out there.
Right. Man, how about this here though? Which team of all of your years coaching softball would you say, or which year, let's say, was the best team, like composed of the most pieces, whether they underachieved or overachieved, but which group would you say was the most complete that you've ever been able to coach? I know you've had some squads, man.
Yeah, you know, I would say that the 2010 team we had at Muskogee, they were really good.
Yeah.
We had a team in Muskogee, I think it was 2014.
I remember that year.
Really good.
Right.
And this last team was really good.
Oh, so they rank up there then.
They're real similar. I mean, you know, we had. It would be a heck of a contest to see those three teams play each other.
Really?
You know, they definitely. You know, this year's team was better in some aspects than that team, but this team was better. I mean, you know, if I had to say one, you know, I think probably the 2014 team at Muskogee. Well, that was a talented group of kids, and you had a combination of four classes
Right.
on that team that had a bunch of kids that went and played college softball, and kids that were freshmen on that team are like seniors now in college, you know, and it was a special group. I mean, it was a special group of kids.
Don't get that always, do you?
You know, that was well, it's the only district title that Muskogee's ever won,
right,
in fast pitch, and we ran into a buzzsaw in the state tournament with an OU pitcher.
There you go.
And that was kind of I felt like...
Didn't that happen a couple of years ago, too? In 2017?
That's happened to me pretty much every year we've lost.
Gotcha.
It's, you had mentioned we're 2-2 in the state championship games.
Sure.
Well, our two losses were to, I believe, the two best high school softball teams that Oklahoma has had in the last 30 years. You know, that was the...
That's saying something.
2015-16 Southmore team, and then that Carl Albert team in 2017. I mean, those are both all-time teams. Like, I mean, just loaded with talent, you know. And so I was the unlucky guy that I got to see both of them in, you know, the finals. But no, it's I'll tell you what's even harder than trying to think of the best team is, you know, with this decade stuff, you saw a lot of all-decade teams.
Uh-huh.
And
it made me realize how far away 2010 is at this point.
Yeah.
Wowzers. But anyway, you were saying.
Well, I tried to kind of go through there and make an all-decade softball team of kids I've coached.
Oh, boy.
That was tough.
Did you get it done, or you just finally said,
No, I got it done. I won't say who made it.
Oh, sure.
I don't want some of these kids to get mad at me. But that was tough. You know, I've been very fortunate that I've coached some really, really good players. I really have. Kids that do what they're supposed to do and they play the game right. And, you know, they're loyal and talented. You know, they're talented, no doubt about it.
That's big time. From a personnel standpoint, because I'm obviously a basketball coach, so I'm always profiling body builds and frames and all of that to see, hey, did this such and such look like they play ball? And I'm in my mind putting them in a certain position. What's a prototype or the prototype of a softball player, ideally through your eyes?
You know, it kind of depends on the position. Really.
Okay.
I mean, I think if you're talking about like the ideal type player, well, if you look at like Division I rosters,
okay,
you know, one thing you're going to see is height.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people like kids that are taller. You know, in every sport.
Yeah.
But in softball, they like kids that are taller. You know, you see a lot of. You go look at OU's roster, and they probably have a bunch of kids over 5'8". You know, I prefer, you know, if I were ever a college coach,
right,
and got to recruit to my system, you know, I prefer kids that can run. You know, I love speed. I love being aggressive on the bases. I love being able to small ball people. You know. So for me, I like the tall, long-legged, fast kids. I like we've got a couple kids on our team right now. Like one that comes to mind is Kendi Morlock.
There you go.
She's our leadoff kid the last 4 years, and she's about 5'7", and she's super fast, and she looks like a track athlete.
Right. The total package, and I'm gonna define that for you. I always think that it's rough, at least in my experiences, to have a kid who is abundantly talented and just gifted, combined with the work ethic of one of the have-nots. And they get it hooked up in class. All right, not a liability as a student, and good character, all of those things. I think you always get either one or the other. You get the talented kid with no work ethic, and then you got the kid over here with all the work ethic but a low ceiling. Like, how would you define the total package? And if, second part of that, have you had a player who's embodied all of it?
Yeah, I've been fortunate to have a few that really were. One that comes to mind is Lexi Watson that I coached at Muskogee.
Got to coach her in basketball, yeah.
I mean, she was an absolute stud, still is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she's a All-American and college softball player. And she was a kid that was just the most humble, polite, well-mannered monster. I mean, just probably, maybe the best overall player I've ever coached. Is just from everything she could do on a softball field. And she's one of those kids that she was one of the hardest workers. I feel like with our pitcher this year, Chloe Bowe. We talked about her earlier.
Oh, yeah.
She kind of fits that mold. I mean,
she's been in the mix ever since she was a freshman, correct?
She's a freshman. Chloe Bowe's a kid who this year is a senior. She's first-team All-State pitcher.
Mm-hmm.
She was the Daddy Oklahoman Player of the Year.
Right.
She was the VIPE Player of the Year. She was the District Player of the Year. And she's in the running for the Gatorade Player of the Year.
Right.
And if you came and watched her practice or watched her work out, like, you would think she's a third-team JV kid.
Wow.
I mean, she, there's no prima donna to her at all whatsoever. I mean, and like I said, when your best players are your best teammates and your hardest workers, like, you're going to have a good team. And it's real hard for any of our kids to not give best effort when our pitcher and four-hole is, And I've been fortunate, though, to have several players over the year that were really talented and really worked hard. But I also think that's kind of the culture that we establish in our programs.
For sure.
I think it's kind of expected. I will say this: kids that don't work hard don't make it with us. They just don't.
I've seen that.
Kids that don't buy in and they don't invest and they don't really work hard, they don't last in our program. They just won't. So pretty much, all of our kids work hard. I've got, like I said, all of these seniors right now, they're no longer going to play softball at Piedmont High School, and they're all still in off season right now.
Wow.
They're showing up every day right now. They don't have to be.
No.
They're still there.
It's all on them.
So I've been fortunate that, I think that we kind of facilitate that, but in the end, we find a way to have a bunch of kids that really like to work.
Creating that culture. It doesn't sound like it took long for you to, maybe a year to get everything ingrained in them like that, the way you want it?
The first year was tough.
Mm-hmm.
It was all brand new. It was, replacing a coach that had been there for a long time and had a lot of strong community ties. And
sure.
And he's a great coach. He's a good guy, but we're very different in the way we approach the game of softball.
Mm-hmm.
And getting people to kind of buy into what we do, it took a while. We were the new guys. And I didn't expect people from day one to just wholeheartedly follow me blindly.
Sure.
I knew that we would have to prove to some people. We'd have to earn some respect.
Mm-hmm.
And I think over time we did that by, these kids seeing their development, seeing how they improved, and then the next year we were really good. So that really helped us. That second year really, really helped us as far as our program, because it kind of gave us instant credibility with a lot of people.
From in the beginning of all of that, was it more of the kids resisting, or was it more of, you know, people outside of your program just not being sold yet?
Yeah, both.
Both.
I mean,
Okay.
it wasn't so much the young kids, you know.
Okay.
It wasn't really the young kids. It was more the kids that have been there,
Yeah.
that had been with the previous staff and had done things a certain way forever, and they'd been successful. You know, it's not like we took over a program that was in the dumps. I mean, we took over a program that was in the state tournament the year before. You know, I mean, so it was, and just like with anything else, you know, it's hard to tell someone that's had success that there's a better way to do this, you know.
That's profound what you just said right there.
And it's just normal.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's just normal. It's like we tell hitters all. I told a group of ninth graders the other day this when we were batting practice.
Mm.
You know, it's extremely hard to tell a talented young kid that they have a swing flaw because they've always had success. But what they don't realize is to get to that next level, you have to fix these flaws. You know, going to the state tournament and winning state titles, two totally different things. You better be really good at the little stuff. You better be extremely fundamentally sound. You better really, really do small things well to get over that hump, to give yourself a chance. But it's hard to get people that don't know you to buy into that because
it could take you all year.
We've been good doing it this way. Why do you think your way's better? You know, and I didn't know if my way would be better. You know, that was kind of one of the things that I looked forward. You know, when I left Muskogee, one of the big reasons I left Muskogee was I had kind of felt like we had done everything possible we could do at Muskogee. I kind of felt like we reached the ceiling at Muskogee. And I was still young enough, you know, and we had been successful enough over the years at Muskogee that every so often I would get phone calls from other schools wanting me to come talk to them about their softball job.
How flattering is that, man, to where it's like, I didn't even apply to you guys. I'm just getting a call. Wow.
It means you have good players is what that means.
All right, there you go.
But it's flattering from someone thinks you're doing a good job, you know, or word of mouth, someone says, man, you ought to call this guy, or, you know. And I know for me, like, if I'm ever an athletic director, that's how I'm going to hire every coach.
Really?
I mean, I think you have a better chance of getting someone if you're recruiting them. You know, you look at college athletes, that 5-star running back doesn't call Oklahoma. You know?
Great point. Oklahoma calls him.
And I'm not comparing myself to a 5-star running back at all.
No, I hear you. In principle, it's the same thing.
You know, but we had, you know, just over the years, have just been very fortunate, you know, with good kids, and I wanted to kind of see if I could do it somewhere else.
I got you.
I really did. You know, that was
it's time for a new challenge, so to speak.
I wanted to see if I could do it somewhere else, you know, and we have, you know. So I think what we do is the right way, and because of that success, we don't have any of those issues anymore, you know, because of this group right here. What they've done and what their parents have done, you know, has laid the foundation for the rest of the time I'm here at Piedmont. You know, like I said, we've got total buy-in from the young kids. We got total buy-in from the
elder statesmen,
middle school kids.
Uh-huh.
You know, so and that's all due to this current group that's going to graduate.
Salute to those champs, man. I got a few more things I want to throw at you before I turn you loose. But your son, Carson, how old is he now?
13.
13. So that makes him, he's a 7th grader now?
Yes.
7th grade. And I know he's been in sports for a few years now. Has your experience as a coach changed the way you're able to watch him compete, or do you still coach him? Because I know you did at one time.
Well, you know.
Can you be dad?
Yeah, I can. You know, I coached him in baseball.
Okay. You still do, or you did?
When he was little.
Oh, when he was little.
And then even when we moved here, I coached him in baseball 2 years.
Gotcha.
I'm actually going to coach middle school baseball this year.
Wow.
To add to my 2 club teams.
Oh.
So it's going to be.
So now you need 28 hours a day,
It's going to be a busy spring. But,
man,
you know, it's I'm looking forward to that. You know, he still likes for me to coach him, which I think that's important.
Sure.
You know, I honestly, I try to treat him like I would any other kid. I think I've done a good job of that. Coaching as long as I have, I've definitely seen how some parents react with their kid during games,
Mm-hmm.
and I definitely don't want to be that guy. You know, I don't want my son, you know, walking on eggshells about his performances. You know,
Sure.
I want him to have fun. I want him to love playing sports. I want him to be a good teammate. I want him, you know, I want him to have the fun parts of being a kid.
Yeah.
You know, being a kid and playing sports. You know, like
You don't get this back, man.
you don't get it back, and trust me, like I promise you, when he gets my age, he's not going to remember what his record was in Little League Baseball when he was 12 years old.
No,
He's just not going to.
not a chance.
You know, I mean, it's not that important. I think a lot of parents kind of live through their kids, and it's a social status for some people. Like, I really need my kid to do good so I can put it on Facebook because it makes me feel better. You know,
Right.
it makes me look better.
Mhm.
You know, and with Carson, I want him to play because he wants to play. You know, the only thing that I kind of get onto him for is just effort. You know, if he's not really putting in the effort to be successful,
We got a
I
problem.
have a problem with that. But if he hits 3 home runs or strikes out 3 times, honest to God, when he gets in the car after a game, it's, you know,
Going to get something to eat.
there's going to be something, you know, like that's, and like I said, maybe that's the wrong way to do it. I don't know.
But it's worked.
But I definitely don't want to be that dad screaming through the chain link backstop at my son while he's trying to hit.
Gotcha. I've heard this part from dads who coach their son or even coach their daughter in some cases. Does he get to call you dad or does he have to call you coach?
Well, this will be the first kind of official time I've coached him. I mean, as far as, you know, I've coached him on Little League Baseball,
Got you.
and it was dad.
I hear you.
You know, now with middle school baseball, I really hadn't thought of that, though. I don't know. I assume it'll probably be dad,
I got you.
just out of habit,
Right.
but I don't know. We'll see. I'm probably gonna let Coach Hughes coach him the most and
There you go.
let him get after him. So
Oh, Hughes, big dog, bad cop Hughes. But he's a gentle giant though. What do you do in your leisure time when you're able to find some? Your interests outside of coaching softball. Do those exist for Keith
I
Coleman?
mean, I wish they did. You know, I used to play golf. I don't do that anymore.
I swear I didn't know that, man.
I used to be a big golfer.
Oh yeah, were you any good?
I was pretty good.
So
Yeah.
that was your decompression
Yeah.
way once upon a time.
Used to play a lot of golf.
All right.
Because really, I started playing golf when I got done playing college sports.
True.
Because that was the only way to go compete.
Right.
You know, I mean, I couldn't play college baseball anymore.
Sure.
You know,
Had to scratch that itch some way.
So playing golf, and I had never played golf, and me and a good friend of mine named Chris Harlan, we both played college baseball together, and we both started playing golf at the same time, and really just kind of taught ourselves how to play.
Oh, okay.
And you know, played for years and years and years. But having a kid that started playing baseball in the spring and summer really kind of took away those golf opportunities.
Yeah. Understandably so.
But you know, I like being home.
Sure.
You know, I travel so much with softball that when I'm not at a softball tournament, I like being home. You know, I like really just kind of vegging out, to be honest with you. You know, my wife, she likes to go to music concerts, so she'll drag me to those every so often.
Oh, Corey.
You know, Corey's much more of a social butterfly than I am.
Mhm.
But you know, to be honest with you, I like being at home. I like just kind of lounging and watching movies and
There you go.
things like that.
Chilling out. I like that. Very last question I want to ask you. Probably my favorite segment of any one of these podcasts that I do. I call it All Due Disrespect. You know what I mean? And where I'm coming from with that is we all have an experience in our competitive past that we wish we could go back to and have it back. And particularly, let's say a team that beat you that you were better than, or maybe a coach that outworked you in a game, and you just know that you were the better guy. And if you could go back and undo it and redo it, which one of those would it be? Now that's as a player or a coach, whichever one you want to.
You know, as a player, the one that really sticks out to me is my second year in junior college at Crowder College, which is in Missouri.
All right.
We were playing in the regional, super regional finals, and if you win that game, you go to College World Series.
Mm-hmm.
And we got beat by a team that just absolutely had no business beating us.
Right.
I mean, it was. I didn't play well. Our team didn't play well. And I don't know why. You know, it kind of goes back to sometimes stuff happens.
Yeah.
You know, that's really one that sticks out. When I was a high school football player, you know, we played Jinx at home.
Mm-hmm.
They were number 1 in the state, and I think we were number 3. And we led 21-0 at halftime. Ended up getting beat 38-35 in triple overtime.
Wow.
I missed a wide open sack in overtime, which if I'd have brought the quarterback down, we'd probably win that game.
Mm.
He ends up spinning out and throws the ball away, but the very next play they score a touchdown. You know, if I make that play, we probably win the game. As a coach, that team I talked about earlier, the 2014 Muskogee team,
right?
We played Southmore in the semifinals at the state tournament, and that was that special team I told you that beat us a couple years later,
right?
But at this point, all those kids were like sophomores,
right? So they hadn't quite blossomed
yet.
They
hadn't quite blossomed. They were really good.
Sure.
You know, they won the state tournament that year too, but they weren't quite like they were 2 years later.
Sure.
Well, we had a lead early in the game on them, and we get a kid thrown out of third base that really changed the momentum of the game.
Mm.
And if, you know, it's one of those things where my head was telling me we probably should hold her up, but I didn't, and she gets thrown out. Now, I think there should have been, I think an umpire missed an obstruction call.
Right.
You know, but it is what it is. But that's one moment. That's definitely one moment I can think of as a coach that I wish I could go back.
Yeah, and in the trip that I'm pretty sure if we're honest, we got more bright spots in our past than the dark ones, but our mind goes right back to the dark ones first, man.
Well, when you get to the end, that one little thing makes a big difference.
Huge.
You know, I know this year, for example, I could be saying a different story about this year. You know, we scored 34 runs in the first two games of the state tournament this year. I mean, just offensively killed it. Our game plan against Carl Albert in the finals was to be super patient and selective. We wanted to take as many pitches as possible. We wanted to get the pitcher deep in counts. We wanted to really kind of get her pitch total up throughout the game. And I'm telling myself about in the 5th inning, like, you know, what kind of idiot takes a team that had just scored 34 runs in 2 games,
right? And
then in the state championship game, I'm telling them to take. I'm giving them fake bunt, take. Like, I took the aggressiveness out of them, you know, but I knew that I felt like our best chance was to get their pitch count up, was to try to draw walks, was try to get people on base. And
you took a more cerebral approach, didn't you?
And in the end of it, it's exactly what happened. I mean, that's what got us back in the game. That's what won the game for us. You know, but halfway through, I thought I might have made the worst decision ever.
Right.
You know, so, you know, luckily it worked out.
That's right. And every game presents a different challenge. I've learned that much. Well, KC, my friend, that is what we call a wrap. I appreciate you spending some time with me, champ.
Thanks, sir.
And hopefully we'll get a chance to reconnect down the line sometime, my friend.
I appreciate it, man.